Hello, I'm Sue, and I live in a very beautiful little village in the Cotswolds. I've lived here now for 30 years. I've been widowed for 7. Well, my meeting with Ian, we've always said, was a God instance. There was no question about it, because in the normal course of events, I don't think we would ever have met. It wasn't long. I was shared an office with somebody in the finance department, and I had to notice that at every lunch hour, a young man would come along in because they were great friends and they used to join for lunch. And this was Sue McLeish. So anyway, we soon formed a friendship, and I, at the same time, had started a club for the children of the employers, a drama club. And very soon it was very popular. And we had 2 plays on the go, one about Caxton, the first printer, and one was a little fantasy. And for the fantasy, I needed a bit of magic. I needed a clock where a child could stand behind and the hands could go backwards and forwards. So I just happened to mention this to the 2 young men in the office, and Ian said, "Oh, well, I'll do that for you, no problem at all." He made the most magical clock made out of Meccano. And of course, while he was doing it, we had quite a lot of time together, and we formed the most amazing friendship. We married, and in 1960, we had so much in common. We loved working together. Our family were very, very central to our lives. And of course, like everybody, every marriage, we had huge ups and downs. When the time came for Ian to die, I had just had a very lovely Christian friend with me. I'd gone into the kitchen to phone our youngest son, who was actually on a cruise, because he didn't think for one moment that Ian would die quite so quickly. And Tom said, "Mummy, all day I've been praying. What is it? What is it in the Bible that says, just let go, and it's time to go, and the peace?" And then he said, "Of course, it's the Nunc Dimittis." And the Nunc Dimittis was something special to Ian. And of course, "Lord, now let your servant depart in peace." And as Tom was speaking to me, he actually broke out into song, and he sang that. And at that moment, Mary called out, "He's gone." So it was rather wonderful that he actually died as Tom was singing that. Of course, immediately after Ian died, I was fine. I mean, I think this is what always happens. I was just held up and worked with the boys the first 3 weeks, everything put into place, all the things one has to do. And then quite suddenly, I just went into the most terrible, dark place. The mornings were the worst. I had terrible nights. I had terrible nightmares. I just can't tell you how awful it was. And nothing seemed to make sense. And the most frightening thing was that I didn't feel I was myself at all. I could not believe anything that we'd done in our lives together. It just seemed to be totally separate. There came a moment when our youngest son, the computer one, said to me, "Mummy, why don't you listen to some of the sermons that are given at the healing services at Crowhurst? I think I can get them for you on the computer." And I could actually see the wardens, the chaplains at the services, and it was lovely for me. That was a real beginning of, something to look forward to. And as I watched these, I noticed that on the side of the screen, this again all new to me, there were lots of suggestions of what I might like to watch as well. And over again, I saw this same face appearing, lovely smiling, kind-looking face, and it was opening the Bible and Pastor Colin Smith and "You'd love this," etc., all the way down, over and over again. And I wasn't quite sure what to do. But there's one night, I shall never forget it, when I must have pressed the right button or whatever, and suddenly up came Pastor Colin's first sermon I listened to. It was on soul care. I just didn't stop there. I simply went on and on, right into the night. What was wonderful to me was the first moment that my mind started to function again. Up till that moment, I really, honestly, was pathetic. But I was being touched by something absolutely remarkable. And Although I had sort of, my head knowledge had been there, I mean, I taught religious knowledge, but suddenly something began to drop in a very, very remarkable way. I just knew this was such an amazing ministry. And I shared it with my friends. They actually could see the difference. They would say over and over again, there's something happened to you. If it weren't for I open the Bible, I just dread to think where I would be now. I was really dying before time. I was sort of being gifted again with what I had been gifted with before. And I just poured it out. I said, I got a wonderful idea. I said, this is what we're going to do. And it was just wonderful. I can't just tell you, because they grabbed on it straight away. We started to do this, and we performed a little scene in the autumn, which we called Who Is This Man? And it was very successful. We took it into all sorts of places. Well, we had a lovely reception of this. We had some wonderful reactions, and we are actually still working. Colin's sermons, you see, stirred something in me that was still there.